name's Drew Buckner, and I'm the Executive Director of Braveheart Chaplain Ministry. Braveheart's a nonprofit corporation through which I provide chaplain services to emergency responders and their families and citizens in crisis throughout Flathead County here in Montana. So that looks like I go to crises in people's lives, be it an unexpected death, fatality, an auto crash or any kind of auto crash, just any kind of emergency where policemen, firemen, medics are going to show up to support citizens, to help the personnel, the crews from the departments, and then also do follow up with the citizens.
A critical incident happens out there, from my perspective, somebody, whether it be a fatal car crash or a homicide or suicide or whatever it may be, that takes a toll on a first responder. And having somebody there, not only for the families of that person, but the people responding to that incident, it makes a big difference.
When a family loses a loved one, whether it's a traumatic event or a medical event, and it doesn't have to be a really horrible traumatic thing. When somebody loses a loved one, it's horrible no matter how that happens. We train to deal with the emergency situations. We're well trained in that capacity, and we're capable of that. But what we're not trained in is dealing with grief. We tend to internalize things. We tend to put up walls and barriers and close things off, make ourselves inaccessible. It's something we're becoming more aware of in our profession, the reality of the long-term consequences of the work that we do and the stress that we face. I think that's where chaplain service and Braveheart come into play. We see them on a daily basis on our shifts. They're just about every morning, one of the chaplains or maybe a couple of them are in the station, and we get to talk to them and build a relationship with them. And I think having that relationship ahead of time is a really crucial aspect of the chaplain program.
You have to understand that trust has to be built and earned. It's not automatically given to anybody, especially among law enforcement, because that's just part of the training. That trust is developed to proving to be a person that's confidential. So if they share something, they know they will never hear it down the hall, from somebody else. Just being a real person that they can relate to, because some of them have never been around a pastor kind of person that close up, and so building trust is a huge issue. And then being professionally competent to where they learned by watching me on scenes that they can trust me on a scene. They know if they dispatch me, it will not make it worse. It will hopefully improve, different parts of the scene. And so trust is a big issue.
I had an event happen in my life. My wife passed away, and he spent a lot of time with me over the days and weeks leading up to her death and afterwards, and he was actually a part of the funeral service. So that's how I got to know him. He played a very important role. He was there a lot for me. I don't know what it would have been like without him, to be honest with you. I think without Braveheart, it would be kind of the way it was when I started here. You wouldn't have anybody to go to. You wouldn't have anybody to talk with. Braveheart is kind of right in the middle of things. They're responding right to the scene of things, and they understand. Whereas talking with, let's say, a counselor or somebody like that, for lack of a better word, they haven't been there and done that. They don't have that perspective.
One of the things that helps gain ground with responders is just jumping in the foxhole with them. So it's showing up at the ugly scenes when they're confident that I will show up if it's a suicide or if it's an ugly car crash, because that way they know that no matter what it looks like, they have to be there, and I will be there also helping, with a different aspect of it. I'm not an outsider who does not know anything about their world, but I'm not another sworn officer. Therefore, I'm sort of a safe zone where I understand the world, but I'm not one of them per se in the sworn sense. And so I just find that they just open up about their lives because they want to talk to somebody. They just has to be somebody they trust and somebody that they feel like they can relate to and that understands something about their world.